Bella, we've been dying to talk about fragrance and scent directly with the star behind Alien Object. To start off with that conversation, can you tell me a little bit about Alien Objects and what is it as a brand?
Alien Objects to me is a perfume brand with a story, meaning, and purpose. You know, alien as in different, special, and unique. And there's always a story to tell behind every creation. But I started with Paris because it was the very first European city that I visited. And in the capital of perfumery and fashion, so I put Paris in the first order, and then London, and then Rome and Istanbul. London, the inspiration behind London is rain. So it starts with the burst of ginger, so quite a warm.
Yes.
Right? And the texture is very creamy. So to me, it's an indulgence in the rain. And it contains real raindrops from London. Just a few drops. It doesn't really make any change to the scent. It's very symbolic.
So I actually have a question for you. Why do you think we have such a deep attachment towards scents?
Smell is one of the five senses, right, that we experience, just like our eyes, ears, tongue, and skin. So ever since from the first day we were born, we were introduced with different kinds of scents every day, from the scent of milk to banana, baby food, to the very first time we were introduced to, say, roses or spices like cinnamon. So we constantly learn new scent every day. So as we grow and mature, of course it's just inevitable.
Yes, we interact with
yes,
that.
Yes,
yeah.
correct. Yeah.
I think it's because with some things, for example, you tend to smell it first before you even see it or you even touch it. For example,
exactly.
When you're heading to the beach and you can smell the saltiness in the air, I think that also builds anticipation.
So yeah, and more into the ingredients of the perfume itself. So I'm quite aware that you choose only the finest ingredients for your creations. Just to feed my curiosity, why do you choose natural ingredients for your perfumes? And what is the most unconventional natural ingredients that you ever used for your perfumes?
To me, actually, both natural and synthetic, they play the very same amount of importance in every perfume creation. It really depends on what you want to create. People normally assume that natural ingredients will always be better than synthetics, but I'll say it like this. It's the same as photography. You have analog cameras and digital cameras, especially when we talk about 10 or 20 years ago, people would argue that analog is always better than digital. But there are certain things that digital can do that analog can do. It's the same as natural and synthetic materials. And if we put it in a graph, I would say for natural ingredients, the graph is when it reaches up here, it just cannot go any higher. You know what I mean? That way, with synthetics, the possibilities, the improvements you can do is limitless.
So do you mean you can always tweak it?
Yes, yes. But of course, there are certain aspects and facets of natural ingredients that are irreplaceable. It's always beautiful because it comes from nature, and they also cost much more than synthetics in general. But some synthetics are more expensive than natural. So when we create perfume, actually both are inseparable. It depends on what we want to create, the budget, the vision that we have.
So, yeah. And another question regarding the ingredients. And what do you find most difficult when sourcing materials?
I think the most challenging part is finding something that you want, something that suits your expectation. Because say for example lavender, it took me for about no less than 6 months to source for the perfect lavender for Aurora, right? When people say I don't like rose, but the thing is, in my opinion, they haven't smelled the best roses in the world. Because when we talk about rose, there's so many different grades and species. So when people say, lucky I don't like rose, we should ask, which type of rose you don't like,
Yes.
right? So that's the most challenging part, to find something that's suitable to what you expect and what you want.
So following from that, when you think of a particular scent that comes from one particular place, what comes to mind? So as in, do you have a scent that's very personal and that's very memorable to you?
Yeah, of course. I'd say the first thing that comes to my mind is the visual, the memory, the moment.
Yes,
right?
yes.
The moment. For example, mother. The main, I would say, the most dominant scent of mother is iris flower.
Mm-hmm.
The reason being, during the last days of my mom, I put an iris perfume on her in the hospital, just the two of us. So to me, that's very visual and that's very special. So every time I smell iris, it'll always transport me back to that certain moment. Yeah. So iris flower to me has a very personal meaning because of that. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
To share that mother is actually a very personal scent to you. And I think, I feel like to me, the scents that are most memorable are actually unpleasant smells, or when you think that a place would smell one way and then you find out that it smells not very nice. For example, when I went to Iceland, I thought, because the landscape is very fantastical, you feel like you're in Mars. But then you go to the geysers and it smells like rotten eggs just because of the sulfurs and everything.
Right.
And what about you?
For me, it's like, again, I think scent is kind of like a form of memento, I would say.
Yes.
So it's like, it always takes me to a certain time and space. And I think for me, I don't know why, there's something to do with water, I would say. So like what, like a pool, if I just like, I think it's because one of my earliest memory would be like, so I used to visit my cousin's place, and we were really close, and I slept over at her place like all the time, and so she lived in a kind of like a Balinese traditional house, and like so she had kind of like an indoor-outdoor pool. So like the first thing that you come into her place is that you smell the water from the pool. So I think so, like even though I went to another city, I went to the beach, but always the memory that I remember is like when I was staying over at her place.
So if I may ask, obviously it will remain anonymous, you don't have to mention the names, but do you have a particular story from a client that's stayed with you all this time when they requested to make the perfume?
Yes, it's one occasion when a lady asked me to create a perfume. She said, "Lucky, just create a perfume for me, just anything, but it has to have ginger." Because my mother sold ginger drinks when I was small. To me, that's very touching, very simple, and that is unforgettable. That story is unforgettable. And also, oftentimes when I get requests for special occasions like weddings, anniversaries, that's also very special to me because I value their trust and I appreciate their trust.
So, I've heard that you have something special to show us today. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're currently busy with? Do you have any upcoming collaborations?
And personal projects?
Yes.
So our upcoming collaboration is actually with one of Niniveh's partners as well, Studio Particular. And we have to thank you because I think we wouldn't have known each other if it wasn't because of Niniveh.
It's very sweet.
Yeah. So here it is. The name is Metal.
Yes.
Tell me everything about it.
Yes.
As you can see, the color is gray, and I think it goes very well with the branding of Studio Particular. And the label itself is in silver color.
It's metallic.
Right?
Yeah.
It's metallic. This is one of the most challenging projects that I've done because metal, how do you capture the sound of metal?
Yeah.
So to me, it's a little bit cold, polished. if it was a temperature, definitely it leans towards the colder side. So it has incense, it has also cedarwood.
Okay.
So would you say it's more of a traditionally masculine smell? Or do you think it's up to taste?
Oh, definitely,
Objects?
definitely.
Yeah.
In alien objects, we would never
Gender?
label
Yeah.
the perfume based on gender because, for example, we have strawberry-based perfume, and there will always be men who purchase our perfumes, right? So the question is whether or not we can pull it off, right? When you wear bomber jacket, leather jacket, it will go very well. Especially when you wear studio particular jewelries, right? They're so edgy, so cool, and that's the vibe that I want to capture with this perfume.
I think you've captured it very well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so just like with metal here, you know, it has like a gray shade, and what drew me in at first to your cities collection as well. You know, we have there's purple, there's green, there's red. And I don't see colored perfumes very often. So, can you share a little bit about the inspiration behind that? What made you decide to add color to the perfumes?
I think fragrance is a very visual experience at the same time. You know, not only you can smell it, but you can see it and feel it. Yeah. So I deliberately add colorants to create the whole experience.
We're finally going into our last question that I've been dying to ask this to you, Luki.
Okay.
So, if you could translate Niniveh to a scent, what would it smell like?
I think I'm going to choose fig and guava.
I see.
Very
Fig
tropical.
because the color of Nineveh I think is called teal, deep teal. And if you know fig fruit, the skin is somewhere between green and purple. So I think that somehow reminds me of the color of Nineveh's logo.
I see.
Right. And at the same time, fig is also very pleasant smelling. It's sweet, but it's very unique at the same time. And I choose guava for its tropical character because if you look at the clothing selections here, it's very tropical, right?
Yes, that's true.
So, thank you so much, Luki, for spending your time with us today.
You're welcome.
You know, it's always a good time with you, and this has been well as well. And to have this very touching, very lighthearted,
Yeah, it's very personal.
moving.
Sometimes, yeah.
Exactly, and I've
The
never,
pleasure is mine. The
Yeah.
pleasure is mine.
I've never go like really deep into scent in general. So yeah, such a good insight today.
Yes, I feel like, you know, to kind of summarize over our conversation, I feel like in this increasingly digital world, sense is one of our senses that's very, very difficult to replicate or imitate.
Exactly.
Because you know, with the screen, you can always see or hear things, but it's very, very difficult to replicate that sense of smell. So I think it's what made us retain that human connection. So I think, yeah.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah.